Welcome to the Kirkpatrick podcast, bridging traditions and trends in learning and performance evaluation. Whether you're a seasoned learning professional or just starting out, join us as we dive into the Kirkpatrick model like never before. Through stories and insights, we are fusing time-honored methods with cutting-edge innovations to help you navigate the ever-evolving world of learning and performance evaluation. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. It is Vanessa, and I am so excited that for this episode of the Kirkpatrick podcast, I've got Amber Holt-Goettman to chat with us a little bit more about what her speaking session is going to be all about at the Kirkpatrick Summit. When we started putting together, who is going to be a potential speaker and really thinking like who my dream potential speakers were, I really wanted to have Amber as one of our speakers. I knew she had a really great story to tell. She's so exemplary of how the Kirkpatrick model can be done and done well and right. And so this was definitely something we wanted to make sure you all got to hear more about. So let me just share first a little bit more about Amber. Amber is the Chief of Training Evaluations at the Special Warfare Training Group, assigned to the Special Warfare Training Wing at Lackland Air Force Base, Texas. With a Master of Education focus in instructional technology, Amber brings a wealth of experience to the DoD's training and development space. She's an experienced education and training specialist with a demonstrated history working in the defense industry. Amber currently leads a team of instructional systems specialists to ensure job skills training is effective and efficient to meet the needs of the customer. She and her team have developed a modern feedback program that ensures the SWTG delivers training that aligns with AETC policy, continuously assessing course curriculum and provides instructor cadre actionable insights. Amber, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great, Vanessa, and thank you so much for having me. It's very exciting to have an opportunity to share our program.
Yes. And before we get started, I know that you wanted to just share a quick disclaimer. So we'll go ahead and let you do that now.
Yes, so I just want to say that I do work for the Department of Defense, but these opinions that I'm going to talk about today are just my own and in nowhere reflect the DoD or any subunits of that.
Okay, amazing. Now, that bio gave us a little bit about you and your background, but I really want to know more about your background from your own words. Where did you get this passion for learning and development, and how did you get into the Department of Defense?
Oh, great question. So I'm actually an Army brat, and I was born in Germany. And I remember playing school growing up, always being the teacher with my brothers. He'll actually tell you stories that I used to take away his summers and make him play school with me. So I think he's forgiven me now that we're grown, but maybe he is a little resentful. So I went to school and I really liked teaching and I really liked business. And I went to school for business and then immediately started a teaching certification program. During that time, my dad was like, you should apply for this job at the base. And it was while you go to school, you work for the Air Force. And I worked in training evaluation and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. And they asked me if I wanted to look at becoming an intern with the Air Force, where I would teach, do curriculum development, and then kind of wherever the career path would lead me. So I applied for that. I came on as an intern a year later, and I found my way eventually back to evaluation, and I've been back in that space for 10 years. So I really love how you take the learning and the business and kind of put it together in evaluation, and that's where I found myself really thriving.
Oh, I love that. That is like right there, the clip. Evaluation is really combining learning and the business. So I think I'll pay you later for that lovely tagline. And I love that you got your start and your love from, back in your childhood. I'm sure your brother has forgiven you, but, want to thank you for that time because now we get to have you here. How amazing. It's so cool to see like how things that, from your past really do influence your future, even when there are things you don't even think about that would influence you. Yeah, it's just so cool to see how things come to life and almost full circle.
Right. Absolutely.
So how did you discover the Kirkpatrick model?
Yeah, Vanessa, so that's another great question. Let me tell you, I've worked at several of our Air Force bases, and I came to Lackland Air Force Base in 2017. And I had already worked a couple of years in evaluation. I had already done instruction, curriculum development, and special projects. And then I finally got back into evaluation. And I was hired to come here and help stand up the Special Warfare Training Group. And I come in, and the first day, my new boss is like, take the Kirkpatrick model and tell me why everything you do according to regulations like matters.
Oh, okay. No pressure though.
I have a master's degree, and I'm like, do I remember studying this in school? Like, I don't. So immediately I am on Amazon ordering the book, the original book, like John Kirkpatrick's book.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And then I'm reaching out, like, Googling, looking for Kirkpatrick training. And
Mhm.
that's when I came in contact with Jim and Wendy. And I'm like, hey, we're just trying to figure this out. And they're like, oh, we kind of do the new 4 levels. Okay. So we got that 4 levels book, and we did a kind of a, this is how we think this works, right? Um,
Yeah.
that's really how I came really encountered with the Kirkpatrick model, and then got really familiar with how everything works.
Amazing. Amazing. So I think I love what you said there too, is like there was a moment of I think this is how it works. This is like what I'm reading. And then seeing and learning more that it's been, you know, updated and there's more to it than I think there was maybe in the past, which I think is always so interesting for me to hear from others, you know what I mean? Like they thought that the 4 levels was this. I get this a lot, and now they realize it's all this. So I love when a story starts with a good Amazon purchase and a Google rabbit hole.
And what else are you gonna do in that situation, right? Like, oh, I have to like show a good thing
Figure
here.
it out.
You just hired me, so let me figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a core like skill set for a lot of folks, or for everyone really, is like what is your ability to just like figure it out,
Yeah,
when you're in a high
exactly.
pressure situation. So could you share some of the some insights into your development process of your evaluation program?
Sure. So, that was 2017, and a lot's
Wow.
changed. I'll say a lot's changed since then.
Hmm.
And so I think the 2017 version of what we came up with was very literal. And I
Mm.
think after going to bronze, silver, um, just getting more into the job, learning, like training other evaluators, seeing some gaps. I think our current implementation is a very broad interpretation of the Kirkpatrick model,
Mm.
but it still, I believe, meets the intent. And it still satisfies like maybe the OPM field guide, or
Yep.
we're able to like tie in all of our regulatory requirements, but stay true to the, I think, spirit and intent of the Kirkpatrick model.
Yeah. So tell me more about how it has evolved. Are you utilizing more technology into it? Where are the kind of some of those evolutions?
Sure. So right now we are using Qualtrics for our reaction, and we are
Hmm.
currently building out our Qualtrics for, I call it like 3.5, because we go out to the field and we ask the field if this is what you need. The results part, like I maybe not that far, but it's a little bit more than 3.
Hmm.
And so we're currently building out those parts as well, with
Hmm.
Qualtrics, just so we have like current data on a dashboard. Because at the end of the day, I need to show leadership, like where the data is and what we're finding out. And
Hmm.
use the historical data to help drive
Hmm.
decisions for the future. So that's kind of like the modernization we're doing, is using that platform
Hmm.
specifically. Um, but also, as requirements have changed in the last 7 years, we kind of just took a holistic look at our whole program, and we said, okay, if it impacts the students' day-to-day lives, let's put it in reaction. Like if it's something that we're required to do that impacts the student, let's just put it in reaction. And if it impacts their learning or impacts their success on a test, let's put it in the learning bin. And so we kind of just, like I said, kind of broaden the aperture of how we were going to look at what we're required to do in the light of the Kirkpatrick model. Because I think one thing that people kind of get away from is, at least in the Air Force, when we use the IE model, it's a circle and E is in the center. And so what we're doing in evaluation should really be feeding the ADDI. And if we're not collecting it in a good way, if we're not sharing it in an effective way, then we're not really fully doing all of our job.
Oh, this evaluation being in the center is just like, oh, my favorite. Thank you. Also I'll pay you for that as well. You've been getting a lot of plugs for us today. However, I will say this. There is a perception of the DoD and just government and military in general, right? Like it's very slow to change. Things are always done the same. And, you know, like, yeah, sure. I'm sure there's like an element of that, you know, that's the truth. But there are people like you. I meet them daily that are in the government, in the military, that are trying to and working towards revolutionize how they're doing their training, meeting more of the needs of their learners, meeting more of the needs of their employees, introducing new technologies and platforms to be able to do better work and to really meet the needs of the learners. So I love that you're utilizing Qualtrics for that and the 3.5 that they've got. I know a little bit about it. It's pretty cool to see how they've
so actually,
how they're doing it.
I started calling it 3.5, and then I saw a snapshot like a week ago about you guys have a 3.5 now, and I'm like, wait, what? Like I thought I made it up on my own, but apparently no.
Did you see a snapshot from Sydney Miller?
Yes. They were here in San Antonio a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we were with them the week before. Yep.
It was like brief too. It was like, Kirkpatrick's working with us, but I guess I'm so familiar that I'm like, that's not, hold on. Like, what did I just see?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's really cool because it's what we say there, it's we spent a lot of time chatting with them about it's the idea of bringing the human back, right? So if you're letting your technology do those pieces of it, now we can go out and be human and go talk to our people. What is it that you need? Where we, you know what I mean? Because you're not so overwhelmed with like the data collection of it all. And now you can see in it like in a snapshot, right? Like where are we going? And it gives you like that actual, like, this is what I need to be talking to my people about to figure out how we can improve. So
I may have to quit using the 3.5 then.
no, you can still use it. I love it though. But it's like, it's so, but that's to me is like so cool too, because it's like, you didn't even know that was happening. And you can see that direction and that evolution, right? And like I always say, the Kirkpatrick model is something for everyone, right? And we're able to really, that's what I love, the simplicity of it. It's like so elegantly simple, and it really can mold and adapt to what, you know, you need it to be.
Yeah.
So
So
love that.
I think you wanted to ask me about the rigidness in the government. And I absolutely think there's a lot of rigid mindset. And I'm very lucky that I'm in a leadership chain right now that wants to accept risk to try to do our job better. And so I'm not going to say like anybody can do this at any time. But what I will say is if you take the initiative to plan and pitch it, you may be able to make some changes that you don't think you can make. And so I would say not to be afraid to think outside the box and not be afraid to just create something and pitch it to your leadership, because you never know.
Well, and you shared that you started this, implementing the model back in 2017. Well, we're in 2024, right? So it takes its time to really be able to like implement and evolve from there. So like, I'm sure in the beginning, you probably wanted to do some different things. But instead of coming out the gate with like, let me do all the things and change how we do everything, it was like a slow build and a planning for it. And so that's what I love about what you're saying there is I think when people want to like run out the gate and change something, it's like, that's where the resistance comes into place. But when you really take the time to plan and be intentional and identify who are your people, who are your stakeholders, who are your champions, and learn more about the business, learn more about what keeps them up at night, right? Why is this important to them? It becomes actually easier
Right.
to make some change.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That's what the other thing is. Try to get in the room. Is another recommendation I would make. And try to listen ahead, because a lot of times I'll be sitting in meetings and we're talking about curriculum changes, but we haven't asked the question, what problem are we solving, and how do we know we've met what we're trying to met what we're trying to solve? Like, what does
Yeah.
success look like for that? And I think we miss that a lot in a lot of places. Definitely where I'm at now, like, we're quick to change, and we sometimes, so as an instructional designer, instructional system
Right.
specialist, I think we should take the initiative to ask the question, like, what does success look like here, and how do we measure that? Because then that
Yeah.
enables us to put the survey questions in the reaction survey, then of course
Mm-hmm.
survey, or it enables us to implement some kind of evaluation plan to know that we've actually met the intent of incorporating new training and not just wasting resources spinning wheels.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's where we get into a state of being so reactive, right? Well, we just got this piece of feedback telling me to change. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. But with a proper evaluation plan, you
Yeah.
can pull back and say, all right, now you, like you're saying, you're listening ahead, right? You're predicting what the next thing is going to be. And so you're able to solve for that. So it helps you too, because you're not constantly, it's not like fight or flight, but you're not constantly in like a reactive state, right? And it helps you kind of like be able to read the room a little bit and understand, all right,
Yeah.
I'm going to be working on this now, and then we're going to have to shift over to this. So it definitely makes it a little bit easier for you.
Or they ask questions. Hey, is this impacting, our attrition rate?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we haven't been looking at that, so now
Yeah.
it's very hard to go back and try to figure it out. It's very easy to plan from the beginning.
Yes. I don't know if you've ever tried to, in the work that you all have done, retrofit an e-learning course to be accessible, right? To be 508 compliant. That is like,
That sounds
at
very
that
hard.
point, throw it out the window and start something new. And that's what I tell people too about, evaluating, right? It's like, it's so much easier when you plan with the end in mind, right? That you're going to be planning for that evaluation from the beginning. We'll get that question a lot, is how do you convince people to do level 3? I was like, well, I start from like the very beginning, letting
Mhm.
them know that like, you need to be part of this part, because this is
Right.
where we're getting that level 3 behavior data, and like, you are part of how we're going to collect that, right? And it helps. People don't like to be like surprised by anything. We don't generally love surprises. So if they know to expect that from the beginning, and you can help them integrate that into their workflow and their workday, it makes it a lot easier to get what it is that you need.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me more about, what are some of the key metrics or indicators that you all are focusing on when evaluating training effectiveness? Is it
Sure.
attrition?
Attrition is one of them. And
Yeah.
first time pass rate is one of them. Can
Mm.
they make it through without having to like repeat any part of the process? And those are higher level ones. But we also look
Mhm.
at the learning environment. So our end of course survey is kind of our reaction survey, or one
Yeah.
of our reaction pieces. And that asks them about the curriculum, it asks them about the instructors, it asks them about their sleep at night in the dorms, it asks them about their military training leaders. So it's just all of those things. And like I said, we kind of broaden our aperture when we look at it. Everything that impacts our training day.
Yeah.
We do exit interviews with people who are exiting our pipeline, but we also do, there's a like when kind of apex where you have to get selected or non-selected. And so we actually talk to both selects and non-selects, and we're kind of just looking to triangulate data and say, is there any factors impacting whether someone is selected or non-selected that are within our control
Mhm.
in our courses? And then once someone graduates, so there's several courses in our pipelines. So every course has an end of course. And then we have an anytime feedback, where at any time they can just provide feedback to us. And that could be on anything.
I
So
love that.
can we get the airmen successfully from basic training when they come to us, and then like
Uh-huh.
all the way through to be like qualified in their job? Like that's what we're responsible
Wow.
for.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of our one layer. Then we look at test analysis. So different curriculum designers are responsible for designing curriculum, implementing curriculum. So part of our job as the training evaluation shop is we go and we look at their test analysis data.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where that first time pass rate or like high missed questions come in. Again,
Yeah.
like, are we effective and are we efficiently
Mm-hmm.
getting, we want people to be well trained. We don't want to push them through. We also don't want any hiccups that are in our control. And then the last piece, which I feel like is the bread and butter, it's my favorite part. Well, there's two of the last pieces, but one of them is field interviews. That's where we go out to the field and we talk to the supervisors of the graduates, and we ask them about their pipeline experience. And then we ask the
Yes.
supervisors, is this the airman that you need? And if not, like, what are we missing here?
Oh, I love that question because it really does, you get out there and you're able to, my assumption here, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Oh,
you're
yeah.
actually able to hear it from their voice. You could see their body language, right? You really get to hear from them as opposed to, sometimes interpreting, or someone putting something in like a survey or in an email that like they feel like they have to say. But when you have that face-to-face communication, I think it's totally different.
It really is. So I usually say something like, hey, if we're sending you pink cupcakes with sparkles and you really need a turtle brownie, like this is what I need to know. Because we can take that data back and help inform
Okay.
decision makers.
But can I get both?
Can you get
Is
both?
there?
I mean, maybe, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, you may love it, it may be perfect. You're like, yeah, you're sending me this perfect strawberry cupcakes, but like, this is not what I really need over here. And that
Yeah.
matters.
I want to also go back to something that you said earlier that my mind was blown. I don't know if you saw it. It's like literally the emoji, but like you literally ask, how is your sleep in the dorms?
Yes.
Because it really is it's everything, right? It's not just like the training session or the training room. Everything impacts that experience. And it's important that you're getting that data. And that data, right, isn't necessarily like your department's job to do something different about it. Maybe, maybe not, right?
Mhm.
But
It's
instead of
not.
having but then instead of having multiple surveys from multiple stakeholders, you're getting it once and then you're also aware of what is going on so that you're able to help influence and have conversations and make adjustments. So I love that.
Right. So, I mean, I think there's plenty of research to show that, your rest, if you've eaten, if you haven't eaten, if you're, going to bed at a certain time, all those things impact learning, right? And we know
Mm-hmm.
that. And so even if it's not mine to fix, it's definitely mine to look for trends and highlight. And that's how I
Yeah.
look at it. So maybe not mine to
Mm-hmm.
fix, but I can definitely highlight it to a leader, or I can show a trend. And
Mm-hmm.
it may even, we haven't had this, but it may even come in later where, oh, we have high failures. What was the dorm conditions like? Then you can start looking at kind of different angles as well.
Isn't it great to like really dive deep into the raw data and you start to see these like crazy correlations that like if you just look at sometimes like the analysis, like the report that you get provided, you're like, eh. But then when you actually dive deep into it, you're like, okay, well, this happened and then this. Very interesting. And I love that you are going beyond your scope because you're really leaning into what Dr. Kirkpatrick talks all the time about is like this learning and performance architect, right? Because it's that whole experience, that holistic experience. And you know that like you're not going to just stay in your lane because at the end of the day, you're the learners, the employees, the airmen, like this is who is important. So
Mhm.
we need to be clear as to like how we can all help them. And if I can help gain that insight and give it to the right person that can do something, like that's important to me.
For sure.
So, in terms of like your experiences, what have been some common like pitfalls that you'll have faced when trying to balance, particularly evaluation and your training with, the regulations and compliance that y'all have?
Yeah. I think the biggest pitfall and maybe I not knowing enough in the beginning is being
Mm.
very literal. Being very
Mm.
literal, like, okay, we do end of course surveys, that's level one. Okay, we do the field evaluation questionnaire, that's level 3. And we do these
Mhm.
field interviews, which I call those the 3.5.
Yeah.
And very literal, or test analysis goes in learning, very literal application. But then as I got more experience and spent more time, okay, let's look at this. We look at these other things. Like maybe we go in, we look at, because we go and do instructor evaluations or assessments. So then, okay, well, that's part of level 1 and 2.
Mhm.
I mean, how well they're teaching, and if it's standardized, like that impacts the learning. So when we really stepped back about 2 years ago and said, okay, these are all the things we're required to do. And then how would that fit, right? If we're the center of the ADDIE model, like how does that really
Mhm.
fit the big picture? Uh, and
Yeah.
and so I think the pitfall that you can to avoid there is just being super literal, um, and
Mhm.
really just kind of taking a step back, putting your instructional designer hat, not like your Fed hat, but your instructional designer hat. Again, Amber's opinion, not DoD. Just creatively think like, how could this fit into this model?
Yes.
How could we better explain what we do to leadership? How could we better um, impact
Mhm.
these different facets of the ADDIE process?
Oh, and what we'll say a lot at Kirkpatrick and my other company, Anchored, is like being able to see the forest through the trees.
Mhm.
Sometimes when your head is so far down, you can't really see what the true purpose is, like why we're doing this,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, well, if I'm just going to take literally what it is that's being said in front of me, then sometimes I'm missing so much because I'm not able to take a step back and take a look up. When my head is so focused down and I'm just trying to get things done, it makes it more difficult for me to really do what's in the best interest for, our learners and whatnot. So I love that you were able to do that. And so that was a process that y'all went through about 2 years ago, huh?
Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago. We just kind of sat with my team at the time, and I just said, hey, is there a way that we could reframe what we do all in level 1 through 4? And we just kind of sat in my
Mm,
office and like drew on the whiteboard how we
yeah.
thought we could maybe pitch it. And it's really working. I think it's really working for us. Just having that framework, it makes
Hmm.
explaining your job easier, a little bit easier. What do y'all do in here? Because
Well,
part of what we
yeah.
do can come off as the compliance police, and we're not trying to do that, right? Like I'm not trying to
Mm,
do that. But when you are going to look at
yes.
curriculum or look at test analysis, you can come across as the compliance police.
Amazing. Amazing. Yes. You definitely, I had someone that you're just reminding me of this. So I was working as an office manager for a home remodeling company years ago, and I was HR in the office. And so my VP of sales, who just like loved to do anything but be compliant with things, would just look at me. He's like, it's like you have like a wart on your nose, like you're like the HR monster and stuff like that. I'm like, it's not that. It's just that like you cannot do certain things for
Yeah.
certain reasons. You could still have fun, but just, let's like, make it compliant fun. Let's make sure we get our paperwork on time and things like that. So there's definitely a way to be creative with your job, even if it is, compliance, and compliance can be fun. I've taken some pretty good compliance training recently. So I think
I
it's
mean,
pretty
yeah,
fun.
compliance isn't bad. It's just
No.
you want to build those relationships with your peers. And
Hmm.
again, like you said, the forest for the trees, right? Like I'm not here to like tell you you're wrong, like or try to
Right.
highlight your something's bad. I'm here to look at the effectiveness and efficiency of our process. And
Exactly.
so yeah, we're not trying to make it a bad thing.
Amazing. So, before we go, I want to know more about where you see the future going. How do you see the future training evaluation evolving?
For me or for like the general.
Ooh, let's do both.
Okay.
Mm.
How do I see us really for my team right now, like I said, we're trying to streamline that data collection and data presentation so that we're not doing so much, and you even said it yourself, like so much administrative load that we can't really
Mhm.
look at like how does this correlate to each other?
Mhm.
Am I meeting my customers' needs? And take more time for that analysis that right now you spend so much admin time managing the data that you don't have the time for the analysis part. So I think for our next steps, we're working on getting our field interviews and FAQs all into Qualtrics, and then building some like I'm calling them Mondo dashboards, where I can look at like my internal, my external all together, and kind of just again look for those correlations. And of course, leadership will have access to these dashboards as well, so they can log in and see. So that's kind of my, I would say, 18-month kind of look right now. For the fields of evaluation, I really hope that we have a stronger presence. I feel like we get left out all the time of everything. I feel like there's a lot of focus on the design and development and not a whole lot on evaluation and analysis.
Yes.
So I really hope we can build a stronger presence as evaluators.
And because there's not enough, people sometimes don't realize that because we're not doing enough on the A and the E and adding, that's why we keep churning out content. We're not doing it right. So we have to redo it and redo it and or plug in holes. Like maybe you're not redoing the program, but now you're filling a gap that technically should have been filled by like the original programmer initiative. But because we did not take that time to evaluate properly, analyze that data, and then constantly have that feedback loop. Yeah, of course we're gonna have, you know, issues and constant churn with development.
Yeah, like we have one block of instruction in one of our courses right now has a constant like high attrition or high first time pass, or like a low first time pass rate. So now my boss, who is a doctor of education, now she's sitting in to try to find out like what is the actual root cause here. But I wonder, it makes me wonder, could something have been, this has been ongoing years, like could something have been done different, like you said, in the analysis phase or an evaluation to see what root causes? Because the things in the center, the design and development, they've tried several different things over the years to fix it, but only in the center. There hasn't been a whole lot of, in my opinion, right? This is my opinion. Like in my opinion, I did not feel like there was a full scope looking around. It was more like, oh, let's just move the time. Let's just write these slides. Like again, like the 2Ds, but not a whole lot of the rest of the process.
Definitely. So tell us more what to expect with your summit session.
Yeah, I'm really excited to share. So I've kind of alluded to today that we've taken a different look at the ADDIE model and the ADDIE and the Kirkpatrick model, and like what we do in evaluation, how that looks, and the 4 levels. And so my session will really be kind of a case study of like how we've done this, what it looks like for us. And then I'm contemplating, I'll get your opinion on this. I'm contemplating like letting somebody tell me about their requirements and trying to like throw it to the ADDIE model in the session. Just like how would we talk through it, right? Work through it. And open, like have everyone open dialogue about, kind of like I did with my team, like, hey, let's how would this fit? And demonstrate.
I love that. So my vote is a yes.
Okay.
I love it. I love a session where we can like be collaborative and learn from each other. I think so often, you know, we do things like all in like our own little vacuums that we miss out on some bigger opportunities to collaborate with others to like get more insight. I mean, like diversity really does lead to better innovation in organizations. And that is like all facets of diversity, to be clear. Like just having different people in the room to like, oh, well, we do it this way over here. And it's like, oh, we could do that too. We can adapt that, you know? So I always love a good conference session that has people like working together or at least conversating. Cause literally like anytime I do trainings, they're like, can we do more idea sharing? Can we do more breakouts? Cause I just want to hear from like others and what they're doing. I'm like, yeah, so that make my job easier. I don't have to do as much training. So absolutely. Amazing. Amber, thank you so much for being here. How can our listeners connect with you?
Sure, you can find me on LinkedIn. I think it's under Amber Holt-Goettman. And we can also put my email probably in the bio below. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amber. Friends, please make sure you connect with Amber. She is just an amazing wealth of knowledge. Make sure you come out to the Kirkpatrick Summit. And we are so blessed and honored to have you part of that day. And I cannot wait to finally meet you in person.
Yes, Vanessa, thank you so much for having me and thinking of me to come to the summit. And congratulations on your 70th year as well. So that's so exciting.
Yes.
But yeah, I look forward to hugging you and saying hello in person.
Yes, amazing. Amber, thank you so much. Friends, make sure you check out the Kirkpatrick Summit, like, share, and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye.